Right. Can we say sadhu to start the discussion session?
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Panchahi bhikkhave angehi anugrahita samma ditti. Cheto vimutti palacha hoti cheto vimutti palani sansacha. Panya vimutti palacha hoti panya vimukti palani sansacha. Katamehi panyehi. Ida bhikkhave samma ditti. Sila anugrahita hoti. Sutta anugrahita hoti. Sakacha anugrahita hoti. Samata anugrahita hoti. Vipassana anugrahita hoti. Imehi ko bhikkhave panyahi yangehi sama anugrahita samma ditti. Cheto vimutti palacha hoti cheto vimutti palani sansacha. Panya vimukti palacha hoti panya vimukti palani sansachati. Panchamam. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Dear Dhamma friends, we didn't have the program last week, but we started this topic the week before. Today, 2nd of April, once again, we are taking the same topic. And this topic is taken from a discourse called Anugrahita, or supported or supportive factor discourse, which you can find in numerical discourses in the group of fives. And the meaning of the particular stanza that I chanted is: monks, when right view is supported by 5 factors, it has awareness release as its fruit, awareness release as its reward. It has discernment release as its fruit, discernment release as its reward. Which 5? There is the case where right view is supported by virtue, supported by learning, supported by discussion, supported by tranquility, supported by insight. When supported by these 5 factors, right view has awareness release as its fruit, awareness release as its reward. It has discernment release as its fruit, discernment release as its reward. So that is the direct meaning of the Pali stanza. If we take a summary of what we discussed last time, we try to understand some of the words that are given in this paragraph, in this stanza. It says, Cheto Vimutti. Cheto Vimukti means, the English translation is awareness release. And this awareness release is explained, Cheto Vimukti is explained in another discourse in the same basket, which is numerical discourses basket. It says, Cheto Vimukti means, awareness release means fading of passion, awareness release. So we have passion towards many things, but from the practice, we gradually become ourselves more and more dispassionate. So by being dispassionate, we gradually what we do is Cheto Vimukti, or the awareness release. In other words, in awareness, in choiceless awareness, what we do is simple observation. And you can be a simple observer only when you don't like it. So when you don't like it, what it means, you have no passion, or at least you try to be dispassionate by observing it. So in that manner, the culmination of the awareness gives you the awareness release. In other words, the negativities that may have been accumulated through the passion will get released, right? So that fading of passion is the awareness release. Similarly, in the same basket, numerical basket, there is another discourse which explains what Panya Vimukti is. Panya Vimukti means the discernment release. The discernment release, the meaning of discernment release is it's also fading, but not of the passion. But in this case, it is the fading of the ignorance. Passion, dispassion of the ignorance is the discernment release. So the difference is from the first one, you change your mind towards the passion, but here the change happens in bit of a deeper layer, which is the root level, which is the ignorance, and everything happens due to ignorance, and you become more and more knowledgeable, and you get rid of the ignorance gradually. But the technique of either being dispassion or being dispassion of the ignorance is the same. The technique is being mindful. So when you're mindful, some people may be able to be dispassionate about whatever is going on, and they will simply observe. For others, they will be getting gradually more and more closer to what's happening then and there. So they go deeper into the process. So when you go deeper into the process, there what happens is you go to the root cause. So such people will have discernment release, Panya Vimukti. So the topic that we are discussing today is anyway not those two. What Buddha says in this particular paragraph, the supportive factor discourse, is that to achieve these things, you must have right view. And to have right view, you must support your practice. And for that, he is giving 5 factors to support. One is the virtue. The second is the listening or learning, and the discussion, and then tranquility and insight. So those are the 5 factors with which we can support the right view to achieve awareness release or the discernment release. Now, we have been talking about the first phase, first part, first supportive factor, which is the Sila Anugrahita, or the virtue supportive factor. So in the virtue supportive factor, what we discussed last time was the pretty basics and how it goes deeper into our practice. And simply the virtue means avoiding what should not be done. If you avoid what should not be done, not just because you want or somebody else want, when you take the common common understanding, common viewpoint. And in general, there are certain things that nobody would like. So if you are able to see yourself in others' shoe and decide, then you will see whether something to be done or not to be done. So avoiding things that should not be done will be the virtue. So in other words, don't do anything to anybody if you yourself don't like that happens to you. That's a simple criteria. And when you take that criteria, you will be naturally a virtuous person. So put it in another perspective, the virtue means restraining your physical and verbal deeds, which we usually know at the beginning of this session, this program. We take 5 precepts, and from 5 precepts to 227 precepts for monks and 311 precepts for nuns. So what simply it does is avoiding or restraining the physical and mental deeds, physical and verbal, rather not mental deeds, physical and verbal deeds. So such restraining is a support to achieve right view, and then that will support your final release, final achievement. And this is the virtue is so closed, so connected with the wisdom or the discernment, if I may call it. And we discussed the chat Buddha had with Sonadanda, Brahmin, and there they both were discussing the characteristics that are necessary to become a great leader of the Brahmins. And then he's giving 5 things, and of the 5 things, they discuss, and gradually they get rid of 3 things, which is the lineage is not that important, and his personality is not that important, and knowing their text is not important. Those are the 3 things, the first 3 things that they discussed and bargained and argued and eliminated as essential factors to become a Brahmin leader. But the last 2 factors, which is the virtue and being a wise person, were imperative as a leader, as a Brahmin leader. So this particular Brahmin leader, Sonadanda, tells the Blessed One, when the Blessed One asked Brahmin, is it possible to set aside one of these 2 factors and still rightly describe someone as a Brahmin? Then Sonadanda says, no, Master Gautama, you can't do that. For then he keeps on saying, for wisdom is cleansed by ethics, and ethics are cleansed by wisdom. Ethics and wisdom always go together. An ethical person is wise, and wise person is ethical. And ethics and wisdom are said to be the best things in the world. It is just like when you clean one hand with the other, or clean one foot with the other. In the same way, wisdom is cleansed by ethics, and ethics are cleansed by wisdom. Ethics and wisdom always go together. An ethical person is wise, and wise person is ethical, and ethics and wisdom are said to be the best things in the world. And he repeated that to emphasize that this virtue or morality and the wisdom are the two sides of the same coin. When this was said, the Blessed One said, Sadhu, Sadhu, Sadhu. I agree with you, and these two can never be separated. So therefore, virtue supportive factor is imperative for you to have the right view. And after seeing this connection we discussed last time, although the Blessed One says virtue is important for the wisdom, in Four Foundations of Mindfulness, Blessed One is giving bit of a contradictory statement. The contradictory statement is, he says in Satipatthana Sutta, Four Foundations of Mindfulness Sutta, Ekaino ayam bhikkhave maggo sattanam visuddhya, which means this is the one and only way for the purification of being. So it doesn't suggest that Sila is a prerequisite for the path. Although he says it is a supportive factor here, in the Four Foundations of Mindfulness, he's not mentioning that Sila is prerequisite. He says, Sattanam Visuddhya. Sattanam Visuddhya means, Sattanam means beings. Any living being who is able to hear this and understand this and can be purified by practicing Four Foundations of Mindfulness, simply by practicing mindfulness. So therefore, he's not saying that Sila is important. And also, why he's not saying that Sila is not important? Because Buddha has not come to this world just to take only the virtuous people. Buddha has come for the well-being of the living beings. So if it is well-being of the living beings, he doesn't care how immoral you are. He doesn't care how unethical you are. He doesn't care how unvirtuous you are. He will lend a hand and you will be able to hold his finger and then gradually rise up. So therefore, Four Foundations of Mindfulness discourse is meant for anybody. By practicing Four Foundations of Mindfulness, what simply happens is you start getting yourself purified. So that path in itself is the mechanism to make the disciples moral, virtuous, ethical beings. So therefore, although virtue is a factor for the discernment release or the awareness release, it is not compulsory to start. Once you start, under whatever background, under whatever circumstances, the path will clean you. When the path is cleaning you, then you yourself will be able to see the changes in you. And you yourself will be able to see how you start becoming more and more virtuous. And that is what you call loving kindness. When you don't harm other beings, when you don't harm other people. So that is the practical loving kindness, not just simply saying, may all beings be happy. And that practical application is available in the Four Foundations of Mindfulness. So therefore, he says, once you practice Four Foundations of Mindfulness, and the first thing that you will see that you are in the path only when you see that you are becoming more and more virtuous. And that simply shows that your mindfulness is working. And when that happens, then you can start being more cautious, more conscious about not doing things that should not be done. And you can go from 5 precepts to 7, 7 to 8, 8 to 9, 9 to 10, and 10 to novice precepts, and then high ordination precepts as well, which is 227. So in this manner, you will see your own improvement. And this has been supported by another discourse in the canon, which we call Sati Sampajanya Sutta, or mindfulness and clear comprehension discourse. And in that discourse, it says, when there is no mindfulness and clear comprehension, for one deficient in mindfulness and clear comprehension, he lacks the proximate cause for the sense of moral shame and moral fear. So when you are not mindful of what is going on, you simply don't know. So you just simply keep killing, keep stealing, keep robbing, keep engaging in sexual misconduct and partying all the time, having drinks, and taking drugs, and you don't know what is happening within you. But as soon as you are mindful, then you see yourself. When you see yourself, you see the damn things that we are doing, that the person is doing. And then he gets ashamed about himself. He gets the fear about himself. That is called not just shame and fear. That is called moral shame and moral fear. So when that happens, especially to someone who has been heavily engaged in other activities, a teacher has to be there, because when he comes out of that comfortable zone of being unvirtuous person, that is a comfortable zone for him. When he comes out of it, he may start inconvenient. He may feel a bit of trembling. Then the teacher has to be there and tap his back and say, oh, this is what is happening. When you come out of that unfavorable situations, so just simply don't worry. This is how your moral shame and moral fear is coming, and just keep doing. And then the discourse continues to say, when there is no sense of moral shame and moral fear, for one deficient in sense of moral shame and moral fear, lacks its proximate cause to restrain the sense faculties. So when you have moral shame and moral fear, you gradually and naturally tend to monitor, control, supervise your sense faculties. So that comes from the moral shame and moral fear. Moral shame and moral fear comes from the clear comprehension. Those are the proximate causes to get to the next level. And when you restrain your sense faculties, then that is called the virtuous behavior. So in that manner, the mindfulness leads to clear comprehension, and then mindfulness and clear comprehension does the rest. So mindfulness and clear comprehension is therefore imperative for sila. So you can't just by repeating the stanzas, you can't be a virtuous person. To become a virtuous person, no matter what religion you are, no matter where you stay, no matter what your color is, if you become mindful, then your virtue will start growing up. So using morality as a supportive factor, when you are conscious about morality, it takes further. And there is another discourse which we did not discuss last time. I would like to talk about that as well before we complete morality supportive factor or the virtue supportive factor. And that discourse is called Sanka Dhamma Sutta, which is conch blower discourse. So hope everyone has seen a conch. So I will share the conch. I got a picture from the internet of the conch. Some of you may know it. Can you see the screen? Yeah, and this is the conch. And in this you can see this is basically a seashell and a big one. And once the animal dies, it will be hollow inside. And if you see that small end, and it is usually closed. So what they do is they open that pit, they cut that small bit off, and then you can blow it from there. When you blow it from there, it gives, it's like didgeridoo. Is it didgeridoo you call it? Yes. It's like didgeridoo sound that you get from that. So, so this is the conch, and this discourse is about, it's basically a simile. Conch blower discourse. So what that discourse is, and when I say the story, you may not see any relationship to it, but anyway, I will link that later. In that discourse, when the Blessed One was in mango grove called Pavarika, a headman, village headman, a disciple of Nigantanatha Putta, approached Blessed One, and his name is Asibandhu Putta. And Asibandhu Putta, when he meets Blessed One, he worships him and pays respect and exchange greeting. And then the Blessed One starts the discussion with him. And he says, he's asking Asibandhu Putta this question. In what way, headman, does Nigantanatha Putta teach Dhamma to his disciples? It's a simple question. How is your teacher teaching Dhamma to you guys? And then Asibandhu Putta says, Venerable Sir, Nigantanatha Putta teaches Dhamma to his disciples thus: anyone at all who destroys life is bound for a state of misery, bound for hell. Anyone at all who takes what is not given is bound for a state of misery, bound for hell. Anyone at all who engages in sexual misconduct is bound for a state of misery, bound for hell. Anyone at all who speaks falsehood is bound for a state of misery and bound for hell. And one is led on to a rebirth by the manner in which one usually dwelt. It is in such a way, Venerable Sir, that Nigantanatha Putta teaches the Dhamma to his disciples. So it's when you hear it, it's a very straightforward and very rational statement. He says, if you do any bad thing, and you will be in a state of misery, and you are destined to hell. And if you live in that manner, then that's the way you will decide your destiny. Then the Blessed One sarcastically probably may have laughed, and he's replying, Asibandhu Putta, and he tells him, headman, if it were the case that one is led on to rebirth by the manner in which one usually dwells, then according to Nigantanatha Putta's word, no one at all would be bound for state of misery, bound for hell. After making that statement, he's asking a question from the headman, Asibandhu Putta. What do you think, headman, in the case of a person who destroys life, if one compares one occasion with another, whether by day or by night, which is more frequent? The occasions when he is destroying life, or those when he is not destroying, or when he is not doing so? Then Asibandhu Putta becomes a bit puzzled. He says, in the case of a person who destroys life, Venerable Sir, if one compares one occasion with another, whether by day or night, the occasion destroying life are infrequent, while those when he is not doing are so frequent. What it means is, if you are engaging in killing, you don't kill 24 hours. You don't steal 24 hours. You don't lie 24 hours. You don't engage sexual misconduct 24 hours. Of course, you can't do it. And you can't take intoxicating drinks for 24 hours. After 2-3 pegs, everyone will be down. So therefore, you can't do those things all the time. Therefore, when you compare the time that you do it and that you don't do it, the time that you don't do is more. So if one is going to hell, by the way he lives more frequently or usually lives, he usually lives without doing that. So then the Blessed One argues, your teacher is simply saying, your teacher is rubbish. And then this person had nowhere to hide. He looked down and hit his head as much as possible and did not face the Blessed One straight away. So then the Blessed One again tells him, what do you think, headman? In the case of a person who takes what is not given, who engages in sexual misconduct and all that, he continues to take the other precepts as well. So Buddha is not here. Therefore, from that discourse, what we can see is Buddha is not trying to throw stones at the sinner. What he says is, no problem. If you engage in any of those unvirtuous things, still I will be able to support you. And he says, just see the time that you are not doing it. So if you don't do it, in that particular discourse, the Blessed One says, when you can use the time that you are not engaged in any unvirtuous activity to practice, or at least to give dana, or at least to observe precept, at least to read Dhamma, and at least to practice mindfulness or any other sort of meditation. So by doing so, he will gradually develop more virtuous things, more tranquil things, more things that lead to wisdom. So therefore, his account of meritorious deeds will be more than the unwholesome activities. So then he becomes a better person. So then the Blessed One says, when such a person becomes a better person, he will be like a conch blower, and he will be able to express loving kindness to the whole universe as if a conch blower blowing his conch, so that everybody around the area will be able to hear it. So like that, this person's radiation of energies will be a blessing for everybody. So that's, and it is given in more details in the discourse. I have just simply given a summary to link the simile that he has given for the discourse. So the take from this discourse is that don't worry whether you are a virtuous person or not. Don't worry whether you do bad things or not. So if you have some time to do good things, especially the practice, then you have a chance under the Blessed One's teaching. So he is therefore here to lend you a hand and highlight the power of humanity, no matter how bad you are. So if one hasn't involved in any unpardonable sins, there are 5 unpardonable sins, which we call heinous activities. In Pali, we call it anantharya, papa karma, and they are the matricide, slaying an arahant, slaying Buddha, or not really slaying a Buddha, causing Buddha to bleed, and causing division among priesthood. So these are 5 activities. Unless you have done any of these 5 activities, you will definitely have an opportunity in the dispensation of the Blessed One. So therefore, everyone is having the seed of an Arahant in their heart, no matter what they do. So don't waste this human life just in the materiality, just satisfying your sense faculties, just partying and clubbing all the time. Just don't waste this human life for just being generous only, or just observing precepts. So that is what is happening in the Buddhist world. They keep on donating things so that the monks will be able to live for another 100 years without anything. So much of donation they are wasting, but they never come to practice. They never come to meditate. But they are wasting their human life in generosity. Or on the poor days, they just come in white clothes and sit in a corner, just keep chatting with their friends, and they call it observing precept. That is also a waste of humanity that they have received by doing things that the things that the Buddha has not asked you to do. So even just meditation is a waste in my case. Just for the sake of meditation, there are a lot of people who are meditating, but that's a waste. What the Blessed One says is, if you want to really purify yourself, if you want to really have the release, then you must have the right view. For that right view, you will have to have a balanced virtue, and that balanced virtue comes only through the practice of mindfulness. Otherwise, you will be conditioning as a good person, but when the circumstances arise, then you will be tested, and there is a high likelihood that you will fail that test. But if you are mindful, then there is no conditioning. You immediately see the moral shame and moral fear, and that will trigger you to be monitoring or to control your sense faculties. So one must practice right mindfulness, right choiceless awareness. That will be the way forward. The human life, in that sense, is so precious, and it is the only known and seen life form that has the ability to go beyond the perception of self. So if you go beyond the perception of self, then you are opening the door for the awareness release. You're opening the door for discernment release. And that happens just by keeping the mindfulness to the fore. So please, therefore, don't waste or be stupid to destroy your own life in any way. If you destroy, none knows when you get this type of a life next time. This is an extremely rare opportunity that human beings have to go beyond virtue, to go beyond physical process, to go beyond mental process, and achieve the highest achievement that any living being are able to achieve. So once Blessed One saw a line of black ants when he was going on Armstrong, and by seeing them, he usually doesn't smile, and he smiled. So when he smiled, Venerable Ananda saw it, and since it is so rare, Venerable Ananda, who was going behind him, asked, "Why did you smile?" Then the Blessed One says, "Did you see that line of black ants?" Venerable Ananda said, "Yes." And Venerable Ananda, do you know, there is not a single black ant in this life who has not been a wheel-turning monarch. And wheel-turning monarch is in Buddhist discourses is the king of the universe. And the king of the universe, at some point in their existence, now are black ants. That is how dangerous this existence is. So therefore, human life you don't get every day. You get a human life because you have the right conditions to have it. And all the human beings are having the ability to practice the human language that the Buddha is giving us, Buddha is teaching us. So we are so fortunate to come so close to that language. So therefore, all of you must make a point that while doing everything else, I'm not asking anyone to become a monk, but by doing everything else, at least the second priority in your life should be the practicing. If not the first priority, it should be the practicing of mindfulness. Don't, without taking it as a burden. So when you see virtue, this virtue is having a bit of a connection to generosity as well. So in usually in generosity, what happens is there is a saying, you get what you give. So that is why people are giving more food and more things, because they know their account will be credited next life. So they keep giving so many things now, and then they will be able to have a divine realm, and they will be having a fantastic life, party life next year. But not next year, next life. And taking the same thing in virtue, also there is a similar thing. In virtue, what we do is, it is also sort of a generosity. Here, what the generosity that you make is not by really doing something. In generosity, if you offer dana, or if you become generous in some other way, you will have to be very busy. You will have to have plans, you will have to schedule, you will have to draw money. To become virtuous, you don't have to do anything. You will there is no need for you to do anything. You will have to simply avoid doing things. So by avoiding doing things, what simply happens is you are donating no fear. People will not be afraid of you. So that generosity, that giving is very rare, because when you see what is happening in the present day, so many takings are there. People take lives, people take things of other people in mass scale and in a legalized manner. Everyone is cheating the other person. But when you become, since everyone is cheating the other person, so everyone is living in suspicion. Everyone is living in fear. But if you are virtuous, if you don't steal, if you don't kill, if you don't engage in sexual misconduct, and so on, you simply offer other people, don't be afraid of me. So therefore, when you offer no fear to other people, you also get the same thing. Right? So there are 4 things that the Blessed One says a virtuous people will have. And in Pali, they call it Attanuvada Baya, Aranuvada Baya. Baya means fear, Danda Baya, Duggati Baya. These 4 fears won't be there for a virtuous person. So Attanuvada Baya means the danger of blaming or accusing oneself, losing self-respect, and having no self-esteem. That is the Attanuvada Baya. You self-blame, self-hate, and you overcome that when you are a virtuous person. You know you are not doing anything, so you have a huge self-esteem, self-respect. There is no need to go to anybody else. You know you are good, and that's very important. Today, It's very hard to find a person who is not hating himself or herself, because they're not virtuous. So if you are virtuous, there is nobody that should come and tell you you are good. You know you are good. You have a huge respect for yourself. You have huge esteem for yourself. And you can hide anything with your power, with your money, with your position. All nonsense that you do can be hidden from other people. But you can't hide anything if you do bad things. You can't hide anything from yourself. Then that keeps cursing you until your death and even after that. But if you are a virtuous person, that very important thing won't be there for you. So you will be able to overcome that danger of blaming, self-blame, self-accusing, etc. And also paranuvada bhaya, which means the danger of being blamed or being accused by others. It may be by law, it may be by police, or it may be by somebody. Other people will blame if you do bad things. And that danger also be taken away when you are a virtuous person. And dandabhaya means danger of being punished, danger of suffering. And that is also taken away when you are a virtuous person. When you don't do anything bad, it's very rare that someone will come and punish you. You don't do anything bad. And the last one is duggati bhaya. Duggati bhaya is the danger of going into the lower realm, woeful state after your death. So even that can be overcome. That danger also can be overcome. That fear also can be overcome if you are a virtuous person. So if you give no fear to other people, you also will receive no fear. So when you have no fear, you are able to close your eyes and sit and observe your breath. Simple as that. It's a very straightforward connection. So you can observe that if you can see your walking, if you can see your sitting, then you are 100% virtuous. While walking, you don't break any of the precepts. So you're 100% virtuous. While sitting, nothing is happening. So you simply observe the breath. So when this 45 minutes walking and 45 minutes, your virtue has been 100%. And that simply gives you the opportunity to pay the attention properly to your object. So that is the supportive factor, moral supportive factor. That support will clear your, since you are restraining your physical and verbal deed, now you will have to deal with only the mental part. And now you have a good footing, good foundation, good basis for you to work with your chitta, the mind, and purify your mind. So may all of you be able to purify your mind by practicing this wonderful technique which we call mindfulness. Blessings of the Triple Gem to all of you.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, thank you, Bhante.
Can you all still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, Swami Master.
Yes. And just give us a second. It's raining here. I will change my place to a place where you don't get much water in. I'm doing it outside. So I will just go inside a bit.
In Sri Lanka, yeah. It looks like he was like stuffed in a little room, like a little cabin or something. Is that you, Trish? PT?
Right.
No.
I'm back. Anything to discuss?
I've just got a quick question, Bhante. Just when you were discussing before, did you say that was the Dhamma Sangha Sutta?
Sorry, I can't hear you well.
Oh, sorry. Earlier in the discussion, you said that there was a sutta. Was it called the Dhamma Sangha Sutta?
Did you hear that? Can you face the volume of the? No, I haven't increased the volume. Maybe because of the sound outside.
Is the system sound? Can it be increased?
Can you get a little closer to the?
Yeah. Is that better?
1 second. It's nothing.
You have headphones with you?
No. Yeah, just can we try again? Sorry, Steve.
Yeah, that's okay. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, perfect. Just when you were discussing earlier, did you mention it was called the Dhamma Sangha Sutta?
I didn't hear the last word.
That sutta that you discussed halfway through the conversation, was that called the Dhamma Sangha Sutta or Sangha Dhamma Sutta or something?
Sankhadhamma.
Sankadhamma.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I just got to write it down.
Sankha.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, if you Google CONCH font blower, it will come.
Got it. Excellent. Okay. Thank you, Bhante. That's
No
all I
worries.
wanted to know. Did you have
Right.
anything? No? We're all good on this side, Bhante.
Right. Anybody else?
Oh, I'm good too, Swami Answer.
You're fine? Okay.
Yep, thank you.
All right, good. So if there is nothing to discuss, then we can conclude the session. To conclude the session, who is going to chant the stanzas today?
Do you want to do it this time, Alex, or?
Yeah. Did you do it last time?
I can't remember. I think Tanuka did it last time.
Oh yeah, I think it was me last week. Yeah.
Yeah, I can do it. That's fine.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay. May all David share this merit which we have thus accumulated for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness and prosperity. May all beings share this merit which we have thus accumulated for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness and prosperity. May all beings share this merit we have thus accumulated for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness and prosperity. May all beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, having shared this merit, long protect the dispensation. May all beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, having shared this merit, long protect the teaching. May all beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, having shared this merit, long protect me and others. If by deed, speech, or thought heedlessly I have done any wrong, forgive, O Master, O Victor, greatly wise. If by deed, speech, or thought heedlessly I have done any wrong, forgive, O Dharma, to be seen here and now, timeless. If by deed, speech, or thought heedlessly I have done any wrong, forgive, O Sangha, practice well the incomparable. Let this merit accrue to our departed relatives, and may they be happy. Let this merit accrue to our departed relatives, and may they be happy. Let this merit accrue to our departed relatives, and may they be happy. By the grace of this merit that I have acquired, may I never follow the foolish, but only the wise, up to the time I attain Nibbana. By the grace of this merit that I have acquired, may I never follow the foolish, but only the wise, up to the time I attain Nibbana. By the grace of this merit that I have acquired, may I never follow the foolish, but only the wise, up to the time I attain Nibbana.
Blessings of the triple gem to all of you.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Bante. Terawan Saranai.
Everyone,
Everyone,
your friend is here.